One of these days. Hold on. Are you good? My audio was removed. Are we good? Okay. Can you check and make sure you can hear us? I'm gonna keep talking. Just put it up to you and make sure you can hear us. All right. One of these days we are gonna get used to going live from the studio on StreamYard. We're still working out some of the kinks to make it like systematic, like clockwork. When we were back on S Payne's couch, everything was a lot easier.
Because it was just a laptop,
laptop, webcam, boom. And now we've got multiple cameras and mics that are not connected to my laptop. So thank you for bearing with us. But if you're wondering why we never give you an actual start time for when we're going live, that's why. Because I know we're going to show up and there's going to be some part of the process that I just realized you emptied 4 of these bottles. So how strong is this drink? Hold on.
3.
Okay.
1.5 and 1.5 for each.
All right. As Payne's trying to kill me, I'm on a caloric deficit right now, and she made me a regular drink. So this should be a fun show.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. Also, another reason this will be another fun show is no show notes.
Hey, again. I was just gonna say, I'm like, just add it to the no notes.
So hashtag we have full-time jobs. So we know what we want to talk about, but I don't know what she's gonna say. She doesn't know what I'm gonna say. Yeah. She actually doesn't even know what we're gonna talk about. No. I know what we're gonna talk about.
I get here and give my opinion, which I am really good at. If you need my opinion by any time.
100%. And that is
my DMs are always open.
Another reason it's going to be a fun show, we have a guest in the studio. Mr. Voch Lombardi has agreed to join us. I'm actually really humbled that he agreed to join us because, like, there have been some people who are like, oh no, like, bitches, no.
It's just the name of it sometimes.
And then some people who legit don't respond. So we've got for those of you who haven't heard of Voch Lombardi, like, he's one of the people who I consider like one of the pioneers when it comes to Cowboys content creators. Nice. Because if you follow the Cowboys and you follow their content creators, they have the best, most robust, most educated, well-informed, analytical, entertaining group of content creators among any team in the NFL, honestly. And that's what pulled me in, because at the time when we started, doing more on Twitter, I was still at that point where I was like Saints fan, Cowboys fan, Saints fan, Cowboys fan. Mm-hmm. And then when I started finding people like Voch, like Nick's, especially Professor O, Space, Dom, it was just fun having these conversations where I really had to come correct with my takes. Like, it was no longer like I could just like spit out a bullshit opinion about what I saw. It's like, no, if you only watch that game one time, you're probably going to like have a misstep in your take. So like they were the people who got us into watching film this year, paying attention to the draft this year, so on and so forth. And Voch is actually like one of the most entertaining people I watch. Nice. Hilarious dude. His show is super entertaining, comes on 4 times a week. And I like basically ever since I discovered Cowboys content creators, I've been following him and watching his content. So he's with us. I'm gonna bring him on in a second and we'll go from there.
Also, I'm bitch 1.
Oh, I'm bitch 2.
Nice.
Dang, we did that out of order.
In case anybody was wondering, if you're new to the show, we don't really go by our names or our derby names. We just go by the third alter ego that we created.
We sometimes go by Lethal and S Payne. I feel like I don't call you bitch what. I call you S Payne.
No. But, if you come on the show as a guest, feel free.
Anyway, with that being said, let me bring Voch on because he's been waiting since before we even got shit set up. So, welcome to the show, Mr. Voch Lombardi.
Yay.
What's poppin', bitches?
Hey, that's right, mommy.
Oh, man, I wanted to do that so bad, but it's appropriate now. Listen, thank you so much. All the kind words and all. I'm actually just tweeting this out right now. I'm just going live to toss the Cowboys. Somebody tweet this whole little thing out. We're going to do this. But look, thanks for having me. Appreciate you. Thanks for all the kind words. Thanks for thinking highly of me. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for joining us. So how's your week going? I feel like it started with OTAs and it started a little bit slow with the news, but as far as Cowboys go, a lot came out today. Was there anything that stood out to you?
Let me just tell you, this is the time of year where, content creators have to kind of sort their ego out, right? Because, once upon a time when I was a young cat, I'm 31, but when I was a new content creator, right, I was like, oh, well, I don't care about how slow the news is. I'm going to find a way to bring content to the people, no matter how slow the news cycle is. You kind of get ego-y, right? But now I'm just like, ain't much to say here. So I took a short little vacation because the one thing that I don't want to do as a content creator is just turn on my camera, turn on my microphone and go, boy, let's talk about long snappers today. Let's talk about, let's talk about what's going to happen at kicker here, right? I don't want to fill the YouTube or the Twitter streets with nonsense. So if I don't have anything good to say, and I actually learned that from McCoy, if I don't have anything good to say, I'm just not going to say anything at all. Now,
thank you for that.
For sure. Now, this has happened. Cowboys had a practice. The practice was open to media. Media got some quotes. We got some interviews. Boy, I got a whole bunch to say next week. But as of today, we just got some Cowboy takes. We got some off-season stuff. Boy, Kelvin Joseph playing nickel and safety. I ain't see it, but I don't want to lie to nobody, but we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Hit me with it.
I didn't see it, but I heard about it. So I'm gonna wait and see. Well, I guess we probably won't end up seeing it. But yeah, I can imagine that especially someone in your position would have a lot to say. I do appreciate you being a little bit disciplined in your delivery of news and goings on with the Cowboys, because I mean, there are some people, like you said, who do that. And honestly, I feel like if anybody could get away with it, it would be you. Because I've definitely watched some of your shows where you get a lot of engagement just getting jokes off.
Sure, sometimes you don't have anything good to say in general. So instead of me filling you with false lies or some clickbait is so terrible. Like, nobody wants to do clickbaity stuff. Nobody wants to lie to the people, because I feel like if I know I can cuss on your show because the name of the show is good.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't want to fuck nobody over one time and they show up to my show like, oh, Dak Prescott robbed a bank. Let's see what Voch has. And in my mind, the bank is Jerry Jones. So Dak robbed Jerry and I'm like, that's clickbaity, bro. Nobody wants to do that, So honestly, what we'll do is we'll just tell jokes. So we'll have a show for an hour. We'll hit you with some real information, or 30 minutes. We'll hit you with some real information, some good stuff. But if we could just tell jokes for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, we'll just tell jokes for 30, 40 minutes. It'll still come back to Cowboy talk, but we have a good laugh here. And I think that's what makes us different. And that's where we got to try to be. Not just me, but y'all too. Like, you got to try to be. I told you this a long time ago. Bitches love sports. So let me tell you why it's so amazing, right? Because it's not, y'all don't go by your real names. Well, I'll just say Jen. This is not Jen from the Girl Talk Boy podcast. This is not the Girl Boy cast. The women know man. We are bitches love sports. We love sports. We're gonna market it as such. We're not afraid. And when you get here, you're going to hear my commentary, and this is what it's going to be. If you rock with my commentary, you'll stay, regardless of the name. I love the name, but whether you love the name or not, if you stay for my commentary, cool. It's a lot of people that don't like my delivery sometimes. And people are saying in the comments, boys, I hated you for whatever reason, but you was right about XYZ, so I stayed. And I just need a reason for you to stay. You know what I mean? So that's just the time of year that we're in right now.
I mean, to this day, I can't think about your show without thinking about the queefs joke that happened.
I don't know what happened. We do a show 4 times a week. What I say?
I'm gonna tell S Payne the story, and then we'll see if you remember what happened. Okay. So there was a show where someone there was, I don't remember where the quote came from, but the word bequeath was used. I don't know if you know that word.
Bequeath.
Okay, I got you.
Bequeath. The word is bequeath.
What? You can be a queef. Hey, no judgment here. You be whoever you want to be. But,
no, bequeath is not. And see, that's exactly what happened on their show. The word is bequeath.
Okay.
And there was some confusion about whether or not the word is bequeath. But that led to jokes.
It depends. If you ask a British person, they might say bequeath.
So at the end of our show, we got this guy, Marcus Hardison. We love Marcus Hardison, right? Because after we run 40 minutes worth of nonsense, we need to come back down. We need some intelligence. And we need just a word of the day, and it's real fancy. We even play our little fancy music. Let's see if I got it on my little board. We even play our little fancy music. I forgot the name of this French character, but this little French music. We will cut this on this fancy violin, and we'll get a quote, right? And the quote has something to do with the best way to productive human something is to bequeath your knowledge to your children. I had to Google bequeath, bequeath.
I would have not spelled
which
it
means
like
to pass down.
Pass down and leave behind. Amazing quote. Yes. But we goofy as hell, and we thought it was an F on it, and I'm like, dog. So we did 10 minutes.
Children, so all of a sudden you see people in the comments making jokes, and I don't remember half the jokes. Literally, the only one I can remember, the last thing I heard, because like the screen had gone dark, but I still heard Steele in the background laughing, saying Kansas City queefs. And I absolutely died. And every time I think about it, I just die.
It's hilarious.
I apologize. We should be a lot more adult than that, but fuck it, we do what we want here.
Being adult is overrated.
No, do you?
Fair enough.
But for those of our viewers who aren't as familiar with you, before we go into a lot of the Cowboy stuff, I do want to talk a little bit about you. So, like, how long have you been doing your show, and how did you get started?
I wasn't even always Cowboy YouTube guy. I was
Have you always been a Cowboys fan though?
I've been a Cowboy fan my whole life. You know, I don't believe in the whole I'm a Cowboy and a Jets fan thing. I don't believe in that shit. You know, I don't switch teams when they get, you know what I mean? My team is my team. I've been here since like Quincy Carter, so I'm only 31, so I've been here since Quincy Carter. So I was a kid when the good shit happened, but you know, I'm a Tony Romo, Dez Bryant baby or whatever. Nice. What's the question? I wasn't always gonna be Cowboy YouTube guy. I was just behind the scenes at my day job, Pizza Hut delivery driver, and I was just talk sports. I was just sports talking guy, but I was really radio dude. So I wanted to be like all the dudes that I liked on the radio. I was gonna, you know, try to be like those guys. So I was really a podcaster at first, and I was telling jokes like you see now, and I would just give general commentary on, you know, current events or whatever. But boy, when you just YouTube paid a little bills out here, you know, and if you do what you love, and I love everything, right? But at heart, I just think I'm just talk about everything guy. I'm just current event guy. When current event is, you know, the passion, but the YouTube pays the bills, and which I love that too. But it just started with this Zeke versus Derrick Henry argument, and I was like, fine, I'll just put the film on the situation and tell y'all why Zeke is gonna get drafted before Derrick Henry. I had no intentions of being draft guy at all, but boy, you get a video with 1,000 views on it, and then that turned to 5, and that turned to 10. You a YouTuber now. You even if you don't want to be, like, you come back from that. Yeah, and you know, and I love talking draft. I was draft guy before I was Cowboy guy. I love talking Cowboys, but you know, it's like when you start getting paid for it, I'm like, all right, we're just gonna keep doing that, you know. So now 5-6 years, I'm thinking 6.5 now, 6.5 years into YouTube, you see me slowly trying to get back into podcasting, slowly trying to get back into current events or so. So yeah, YouTube for 6.5, but overall like 8 or 9 years just doing this thing.
Nice. And how many viewers do you get per episode now, approximately?
Well, we got 2 channels, the volume and the Voch Lombardi channel, you know. So I mean, it depends. On a slow day, you know, if right around now, I probably get 10,000, 15,000 some views like that. But if Dak Prescott robs a bank, if Dak robs a bank and I do a film session about it, that could get in the hundreds. that could go anywhere between 70 to 100, you know. So it really just depends on the topic and the time of year. So we've done well here, humbly and respectfully. We've had a good little climb here in the organization.
Is that like a Jason Tatum humbly? Like humbly, I'm the best.
You stupid, bro.
So this is something that I'm real life struggling with, right? So we just sharing something. I'm doing this on y'all show. This y'all can clip this and put it on Twitter, because you know what I mean. So I'm very self-aware. Mm-hmm. I know who I am, right? I even do a little martial art thing, right? So I'm trying to be just as humble as I possibly can, right? But I keep getting these signs that, boy, I don't even want to say it because it sounds bad. I'm that dude. You know what I mean? It just sounds bad when I say it like that. But I'm Voch Lombardi of YouTube Cowboy Land, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't believe that. You see what I'm saying? And my friends get annoyed with that. I'll be talking to Will Steele. I'll be talking to Jeff Kavanaugh. Jeff Kavanaugh is a friend of mine, right? And I'll be talking to Jeff. And me, Jeff, and Will met David Hellman just at a bar one day. We just chilling. Boy, y'all would love to be a fly on the wall that day when we was talking about wasn't even Cowboys. But I was like, I shook Dave's hand, and Dave knew me. I'm like, how the fuck you know me? Like, what you doing knowing me? I'm Voch, right? When I was a Pizza Hut delivery driver, I would listen to David Hellman. I was like, damn, Dave on the draft show, and I would listen to Broadus. I would listen to Jeff, right? Dave, how you know me? What you mean you follow me on Twitter, right? So I still to this day get unsure of myself. But everybody says, well, Voch, you Voch, right? And I try to be as humble as I possibly can be. But if enough people look you in the face and says, Voch, you're Voch, what you want me to do, right? So I still try to be sweet to people, though. I still try to be nice to people. I fuss when it comes down to this content shit. I do appearances on podcast to people that show love to me. I don't come to everybody's show, but people that show love to me, I'll come on their show and I do the humble thing. But you can't keep looking at me like that little intro that you gave me. Thank you. Damn, you wouldn't have done that 6 years ago. You know what I mean? So I'm really working to find that balance. One, to stay this way, to stay hardworking, to stay humble and cool to people. I don't think that's gonna change. I mean, because I'm still this now. But boy, damn, bitches love sports. Y'all blew up.
Well, hey, listen. You put in the work clearly, so you Voch until the end, period. And I wouldn't change a word, and I wouldn't change anything. Like, you made it this far, as you are. Wow. Yeah, the sky's the limit now, dog.
And look, to be fair, I tell that to everybody. You know what I mean? Like, hey, be confident. I tell my guy Will Steele, Skywalker Steele is the best in the business. Nobody makes a podcast look like him, right? Especially in podcast land. Right, like he's up here compared to, in my personal opinion, I think he's better than a lot of people on the networks, right? And I look at, I'm like, man, Will Steele, you the best in the business, and I ain't just saying this because I'm your friend. And like, yeah, Voch, I'm like, no, Sky, look at what you did to this. I'm up here, I'm just talking about Mike McCarthy, right? And we just work long enough, and he'll go, man, Voch probably about to say something about Dak. Let me get some Dak clips ready, and I'll just say, and by the way, Dak, and before you know it, Dak clip, bro, that's amazing. Be amazing. And I give all these people advice. Okoye, be amazing. Fuster King, embrace who you are. Be amazing. I don't do the shit for myself though, right? I don't take my own advice. I coach, I don't play. You know what I mean? So if I gotta tell anybody, man, just love you, bro. Like figure out what you good at. And once somebody confirms that, hey man, just don't shit on nobody, but just embrace you, hug you, you know?
Yeah. I want to dive into that because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Oh, yeah. And I feel like imposter syndrome is one of those things that sometimes comes with symptoms that people don't recognize for how serious they are. Not saying that you experience this, but I feel like this is a good time to talk about imposter syndrome and how that can manifest and just like what it means to like love yourself and still do you in spite of dealing with that doubt. I was watching the interview that you did with Kevin Gray, spectacular interview. And I remember you saying something along the lines of that you really enjoy getting validation. Yeah. And I appreciated you saying that out loud because that is something that a lot of people will not admit. But I also feel like some of the things that we struggle with as human beings, the only way that we can like figure out a healthy way to like deal with them, cope with them, get through them, whatever it is to admit the truth about them. And things like, yeah, I like validation. I need validation. I want validation. I feel like that's one of those things that's considered so taboo that a lot of people will not admit that. They won't say it out loud. And so I know for me, that was a little bit freeing to hear you say that. And so I figured like among your 15,000 plus followers, there's probably somebody else who it helped to hear you say that. So,
I'll tell you what.
Is that a stance that you had or is that like a new just something new that you've decided to embrace?
Fantastic question. Nobody's asked me that question before. Fantastic question. So listen, when I got fired from Pizza Hut, I didn't get fired from Pizza Hut. I put in my 2 weeks notice at Pizza Hut. But for the people that have been watching my show for a while, I had another day job that I actually got fired from. I worked at a mental health hospital for like 3 years. And boy, you learn so much about people. You learn so much about people. And I take mental health like super serious, but I don't want to be the guy that gets out like real big to grandstand like a lot of people do. You know, I'm more of the, hey man, hit my DM and we'll talk about it type of guy, because I've worked close, like some of my favorite people, no bullshit, like are homeless people that'll just come to the hospital. They ain't got nowhere to go. They may be suffering from a little something. They may think I'm somebody that I'm not, right? But I had to care for those people for 3 to 4 years or whatever, or just however long it's been, like 3 years. And I got so close to those people, and every different type of mental health diagnosis, I was locked on a hall with them for 12 hours. And I got to know those people. And one thing that I learned about people that go through real life depression, right? Not just like I'm sad for 20 minutes, but I can't move and there's nothing that I can do because I'm so down on this shit, right? You just need to hear, like, bro, like, you all right, man. You good. You're fine. It's gonna be okay. And that sounds like some cliche type shit, but you got to say it in a way that is not cliche like shit, right? Because the therapists are going to be like, it's going to, but I'll be like, hey fam, listen, dog, man, listen, your wife and your kids love you, bro. You incredible. You just going through some little shit, right? Just, you good, man. Just when you get out of here, man, just do your thing. And they need to hear that. Words matter. You know what I mean? Words make shit in real life. I believe that. Words make, and I could have said a smarter way than that, my bad. But words make shit, right? So what I learned from that, being around a bunch of depressed people, and while they having therapy group, I just listen. I think I'm a licensed therapist at this one. I studied the shit for 4 years. I even dated the therapist. But listen, right? You just learn strategies. You learn. And one of my strategies, not that I'm going through some of the same things that these other people are going through, right? Because some people are going through some shit, right? But what I've learned to brighten up my day is that when somebody says something nice to me, believe that shit. You know what I mean? So yes, I need words of affirmation. Is also my love language. You know what I mean? I took a little love language test, whatever, and it probably all goes together, you know. But if I work hard on something and nobody acknowledges what's been done here, I may be down on myself. But if somebody goes, "Damn, Voch, you had a hell of a show today," man, I appreciate you, man. Now I'm gonna go work out or something, dog. Now I'm gonna go. You know what I mean? I'm going to go do something for somebody else because that just made me feel away. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a stance that I always had because I've been immature for most of my life. But when I turned like 27 and I left home and I came to Houston, and then I worked at the mental health spot, and then I met all those people. And you know, you just turn 30, like life just real fast grows you up. I kind of grew up a lot these last, 5 or 6 years. And that's a great question that you asked, because that is something about me that I realized. I realized that I need that, and shit, by me knowing that I need that, I give other people props. I love y'all show. I'll just say, I love y'all. Y'all got the great, because somebody will look at y'all and be like, bitches love sports. Nobody's gonna take this thing serious, and that may get to y'all. that may get to y'all. But now you can, because if John 657 from fucking Twitter says bitches love sports is a terrible name, you can go, motherfucker. Voch Lombardi said,
yeah.
It's incredible.
Receipts now, dog. We got the paper trail now.
Yeah, and the shit just kind of snowballs from there. You know what I mean? So words definitely make shit for sure. Affirmation is real.
Yeah, and to piggyback on your point about saying that in a smarter way, I won't say it's a smarter way, but it's a way that most people are used to hearing it. But words do carry energy, yeah. And that is something I definitely believe in. Is that, like, there's energy that we put out, and there's energy that we choose to receive. And I think whenever a person decides to speak their truth, even if that truth is something like, yeah, I need validation. A lot of my motivation for doing what I do is to get validation. I think that there's freedom in that, right? Because one of the things that I think happens, at least with me, since we're talking about mental health awareness, I'll be a little bit open. But one of the things that happens, at least with me, is that it's like, in an attempt to seem like, I guess, more noble or like more acceptable, I'll deny things like that. But what it leads to is putting an energy out in the universe of like, oh, I'm not that great. I'm just, small potatoes, whatever, like yada, yada, yada. And it's like, no, we're not small potatoes. We're new. Our audience is still growing, but I feel like we have a lot of potential. I feel like we have good takes. I feel like we have great things to say,
Oh, I mean, I honestly think there's not a lot of shows or podcasts like ours where we give a raw opinion regardless of what anybody else thinks or how you perceive it or whatever. Like we just do our thing, and we're bitches love sports, and we love sports, and we're bitches. So if you like it, good. If you don't, there's the door, man. Let it hit you on your way out. Like, you know what I mean? We got a lot of people giving us shit like, oh, you should change your name. You're not gonna do your no, man, like you do you. That's your opinion. Cool, fine. Right. That's not what we're about. So,
but I feel like every time I give that energy, that's energy that could be going towards making our show better, and that's kind of what I mean. It's just like there's not a single thing that you do that doesn't put energy towards something or cause energy to come back to you in a certain way, and I just think that's like important to think about.
Oh, I agree. When we first started, I listened to this podcast. It's called Crime in Sports. Kudos to Jimmy and James. Is about just athletes that make it to the top and then go completely wrong, like completely psycho or whatever. It's a funny. They're comedians. It's really funny. But anyways, when we first started, I shared our podcast in their Facebook group, and I was like, if it's allowed, please let me share this if you want to listen to it. And there was a woman that was like, I don't agree with the name. And I was like, that's cool. You don't have to listen to it. I mean, if I were you, just give it a shot. Like we're not just out here cussing everybody out or, doing some like weird ass shit. Like, no, we're just out here talking about this, like mental health and women's sports and shit that people don't really talk about, or is a very, very small percentage of, women's sports are not really out there. Like,
especially not the way we try to cover it.
Correct. Yes. Or like when people were giving shit to Simone Biles or like Naomi Osaka or like all that stuff, or Serena Williams, like all this stuff, like they get so much shit from just being real human beings, and how going through their own shit. So we just talk about that. But because the name is already like, that's kind of a taboo to you. But give us a shot.
It's funny that you mentioned a woman said that, because one thing that I've noticed is that like more women give a shit than dudes.
Yes, than men.
Every now and then there's like a dude who like doesn't want to say bitches, right? That's how we started like going by BLS, and that's why I put it, more often in the clips that we share, because they're like, there are some good dudes like Knicks. Knicks will not say bitches love sports, and so I'm just like, okay, I'll respect that. But like, as far as people who legit don't like us, it's usually women. Yes. And I'm just like,
this is my thing, right? This is my thing. I don't call person bitch, right? But bitches love sports is a proper noun.
Yes,
I'm gonna say bitches love sports. I'm gonna say bitches love sports because it's the best name in the business. I love it to pieces. So, yeah. It could be controversial or whatever, but damn, like, would you have been noticed by somebody if your name wasn't bitches love? Like part of making a name or a title has a lot to do with, okay, you have to catch my attention first, right? So Dak Prescott robs a bank by bitches love sports. Boy, I'm clicking the shit. I've clicked because your name. I'm like, man, that's brave. Man, and look, this ain't me just saying this because I've said this before. I'm like, man, this is the best shit in the world, because it's just who you are, and I just believe in who you are. You know what I mean? I just be that, because this is this the internet, honestly. And we're not TV people. And once upon a time, I have been in those fights, so y'all don't have to. Once upon a time, TV would look at, or just would you say bigger entities would look at the internet people as if we're, because we don't do things, TV way. I got Phil Collins just mean mugging people in my background. That ain't TV for real, but you can do whatever you want here. And they thought we were just going to die off at some point, but boy, we got in them trenches and fought those fights. And now we're here, right? To where I can be mainstream on the air quote mainstream on the volume, but I'm still me. I'm still Voch. So believe in bitches love sports.
Yes.
Because there's going to be a network that doesn't care about. And then get your money and sell out and change the name to Women Love Football a Lot, and then just
like yeah, and like honestly, like it's hard because I mean I've always like kind of loved sports, but I'm from Spain, so I watch a lot of soccer. Pretty much that was about it. Mm-hmm. But it's hard, like here in this country, there's so many sports. Yeah. So many athletes, so many mainstream, so many people talking about the same stuff that it's like, whoa, it's kind of overwhelming sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. So as a woman that wasn't into all these sports like I am now, it's hard to get into if you don't have anybody like lethal, like, yo, did you watch the game? Did you see this play? Did whatever. Like it's hard to find the time, to find your sport, to find your athlete, to whatever. And like, that's fine with us. Like, you don't have to be a hardcore fan, right? You like Dak Prescott, you think he's hot, cool, welcome. Yes. We all a fan, That's
actually a big part of our brand.
Exactly. You like Jalen Hurts, perfect. Come on in. You're welcome. You like Simone Biles, amazing. Come on in. Doors open. Like a lot of people just judge, or a lot of fans, let me rephrase. A lot of fans judge other fans that they're not fan enough.
Yeah.
Because you don't like, or you don't talk about it the way that we do, or the way that you do, or like you're not big enough fan.
That a lot of the women who do like us, they like us for that reason. Because in other sports spaces, they're judged for not knowing enough. Whereas for us, it's just like, you can come into our Facebook group and be like, I don't know anything about football, but I think these guys are hot. We're like, cool.
Great. Yes.
Like,
welcome.
Who's the hottest?
Yes.
Like, tell us.
Let's rate them,
But let's rewind a little bit. I want to talk about the psychology of Cowboys Nation, and honestly, sports fans in general now. And something you said actually made me think of this when you were like, Dak Prescott robs a bank, but bitches love sports. Mm. So there was a situation recently that like, I didn't expect this to happen the way that it happened. And as I was going through it, it kind of made sense. But before it happened, I was just like, I did not expect this post to get this much engagement. Long story short, I was a guest on a podcast where they made me rank quarterbacks. If you know me, I don't like doing rankings. I don't like doing predictions. Yeah. I just like to enjoy the games, enjoy the athletes, whatever. But they made me rank NFC quarterbacks. Okay, fine. Or was it NFC East? I think it was just the NFC. But anyway, I said that like it was hard to pick between Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott as number 1 and 2 for me. And I gave my reasons for choosing Dak Prescott, which for me, because of my background, just at my experience as an athlete and what I appreciate in people, a lot of it had to do with like off the field characteristics. Okay, whatever. So I described that to my lovely co-host here. I posted a clip on Twitter and oh boy. The hatred that I got from a lot of it was from Eagles fans. Some of it was even from Cowboys fans who just thought my take was dumb. And I'm like, I didn't even say Jalen Hurts was a bad quarterback. I actually said I love Jalen Hurts. And if you actually watch the episode, we talk a lot about him. We both love Jalen Hurts. But it was just one of those things where I was just like, wow, this is the most engagement we've ever gotten on a post. And it was all because of just like mentioning Dak's name in the same sentence with Jalen Hurts. And so I was just wondering from your perspective, like, what do you see when it comes to Cowboys fans, when it comes to Cowboys teams? Because we talked not long ago to Okoye about Dak Prescott being the most hated quarterback in the NFL. And I've actually got a story in the works. I'm just figuring out the best way to present it. But like writing about Dak Prescott being the most hated quarterback, what do you see in terms of like how people feel about the Cowboys and Dak and why there's so much passion that goes along for lack of a better word?
Well, Twitter's not a real place.
Preach.
Facts.
Preach.
Twitter is it's a figment of our imagination, and it's a place where you could possibly come to exchange information. It should stop there. It should just stop right there, right? Because all I got to do is take my phone and turn that bitch upside down like this, and Twitter is not even real anymore. It's not a real place, right? So inherently, wherever there's not real places or real places, I'm just picking on Twitter, but where football fans tend to get together. It's not just Cowboy fans. When football fans get together on Twitter, they all are idiots. All of them. Every single last one of them. All of them.
It's the tailgating of the games.
Every single last one of them. Idiots. And it just happens that the Cowboy fans have the biggest fan base in Spain, in the world. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is, yeah. So we just look a little more idiotic than everybody else just because there's more of us. Well, if Cleveland was more popular, they'll look, just as stupid. So what happens is, like you said earlier, in this thing of ours, right? This little thing of ours, we have a very educated group. If you go in this chat box I got pulled up right here, right? Coles, DMV, T-Jack, Brother L, all those characters that's in the chat right now, cool. And they watch educated opinions. They listen to educated opinions. So they have theirs, then they listen to an educated opinion, and they form another educated opinion from there. So we have an educated umbrella. Twitter is the fucking Wild West of you can just show the fuck up with no ID. We don't check nobody at the door. There's no PSA. There's no metal detectors for damn Twitter. You just walk in. So just imagine, right? Cowboy fans like yourselves. You know the game. You've watched the film. You watch people that watch film. You've watched the game multiple times, right? You've skimmed and scammed over the game. You've zeroed in on one part of the game that you have all the information. You got everything that you need. You look back over the stats and you listen to all the smart people talk, and you listen to the interviews. The quarterback did something. You listen to what the quarterback got to say and you form your opinion. You listen to what the coach and offense coordinator, you take in all this information. And some dude at Buffalo Wild Wings that was watching the game can look you in the face and be like, nah, you wrong. Fuck him. No, sir.
Who even are you?
At that Wild Wings that you was at, you was probably drunk. You was probably on your phone. You was probably flirting with some chick next to you, right? You was probably tying your shoe, and somebody went, oh, and you look back and caught the last part of the play. You're going to look at me, a person that's watched this play 10 times and dissected it, and we're going to be in the same room at the same time, talking about the same topics. Twitter's not a real place. It is not. No. So I would love to just say that Cowboy fans are idiotic. No, it's just that there's no security for Twitter. We just let everybody in, and we have to sit at the table, at the lunch table. We do have the cool table here, but there's also just anybody that could just walk up and say whatever that they want to say without. And look, I get aggressive. Because I got time. Look, if somebody say some goofy shit and I'm on a computer and I can pull the play real quick and prove it to them, I want them to yield. I will pull out my shit. Yield.
Yeah.
Apologize. I hate when you prove somebody wrong on Twitter and they just walk away. Oh, well, I'll just go tweet about some other shit. No, sir. Acknowledge the bullshit that you brought to my life. Yeah. So nah. It's just that we're sitting at a table with multiple levels of people. And if people as a whole, this goes back to more like society and philosophy and shit like that. If people as a whole were more humble, Twitter wouldn't be that bad. If people would just be like, you know what? I had no clue. I say this all the time. You know what, bro? It's okay to say you don't know. It's perfectly fine to say you don't know. Like, look, y'all about to talk about WNBA at some point. I don't know. I'll listen though. You know what I mean? I'll have somewhat of a take based on what I know, but I don't know. There's nothing wrong with saying I don't know. If people say it
all the time,
if people just say I don't know more, then Twitter would be a better place. But people don't, so Twitter ain't.
But also, I think one of the biggest problems are like people just go and comment bullshit, and then they cannot take criticism. Like they're giving you criticism for your comment or your post or whatever, but once you start like giving them reasons why you are actually wrong, is like, this bitch is crazy. Like, no, bro, you cannot even read. Yeah, you cannot even read this comment without even like actually reading and comprehending what you're reading. You're already mad. You already made up your mind. And there's nothing else that anybody else can say to you that's going to change your mind. And
they'll have to block me.
Stay away from commenting on it. Scroll.
Remain steadfast in what you believe in. I'm toxic. I will chase these people. If they leave the post and they didn't apologize, hey fam, why you over here tweeting about golf? Come talk about this thing that you was wrong about until I get blocked. And then look, once I'm blocked, oh shit, the world a safer place then, because I'll never see that comment again. So we just killing them one person at a time.
I might have to adopt that philosophy. Yeah, I blocked a lot of people that day, but it was because exactly what y'all are saying. Because like I run our social media, I need to get you on there because I feel like you would be like him.
I would jump on fights so fast.
You would be the one following people to their thread. Whereas I'm like, I'm busy. I got things to do. Block. But it's like they were like coming at me about things that were like documented facts. Like when I said Jalen Hurts, like before he came into the league, people were saying he should actually like work out at receiver, running back, instead of quarterback, right? Because they expected his athleticism, but not his ability to lead an offense, you know? And there were literally Philly fans who were like, nobody said that. And I was just, I started sharing screenshots of the articles where it was written down. I'm like, this is documented.
You can actually facts. Google search it.
And they're like, oh, well, a couple of nobody writers. And I'm just like, what? I was like, writers are reporting on what like scouts from the NFL said. You know, they didn't make this up. But it's really frustrating when that happens, when people are like, oh, you're making stuff up. No, I'm not. Here's a screenshot. Yeah. Oh, well, it's bullshit.
Yes.
Okay.
You take it.
Don't hurt your back moving those goalposts. Okay.
Yeah.
Something I hate about Twitter. Something I really hate about Twitter. And this I can't stand this about Twitter. Is I hate the word clown. Clown emojis and clown gifts now. That's my new thing that I hate. Like I'll have an opinion that somebody doesn't agree with, and they'll just call me a clown. I'm like, sir, if we had this conversation in real life, I'm probably taller than I'm like 6'1". If we had this conversation, sir, and we looking at each other in the eye, like we looking in the eye like we humans, right? And I say, I disagree with you. Would you call me a fucking clown if I was sitting this close to you? Would you call me? You wouldn't. You would not. I just come from this place. I'm not glorifying this, but people get killed over calling people clown. But now Twitter's just this place where you can just freely call someone clown. So I would love to run an experiment. I don't know how this is gonna happen. I need time and resources and people with money. I should call Colin Coward now. I want people that have ever just said bad things about me on Twitter. I just want to find them in real life and have the same sports. I don't even want to threaten nobody. I just want to have the same sports conversation with them, right? I ain't gonna ball my fists up and kick nobody. I ain't gonna do none of that. I'm like, sir, we just had this conversation. It was just respectful. It was nice. It was peaceful. We shook hands and hugged. I bought you a beer at the end. Why I gotta be a bitch ass clown on the internet, bro? Why I gotta be all that? I would love to do it, but I just don't have the resources. I don't have the time or the resources.
People are so, for lack of a better word, brave behind a keyboard. Sometimes it is so unreal to me.
It's different on Twitter though too, because like we posted the same clip on Instagram and Facebook, and like stuff didn't go down that way. It didn't go down that way, but on Twitter, shit just got crazy. And honestly, if I'm being honest, I think part of it is because it was retweeted by petty Cowboys Twider. There's like educated Cowboys Twitter, and then there's petty Cowboys Twitter.
That helps.
So I think that was part of it.
I don't know. That's just weird to me. Like I feel the same way. Like every time I see some weird shit like that on anywhere in the internet, I'm like, I wish you would. I bet you would.
I bet you wish they would.
Yeah.
You have dangerous energy. I feel it.
I wish I would hear that. on my door, and then I open it, and it's you telling me that, reading the comment to my face. I wish you would.
I hope this ain't racist, right? But just hanging there with me, right? Just hanging there with me.
Go for it.
When you do dangerous shit, you just feel dangerous people sometimes. You just that motherfucker. Like you just know the difference, right? I get it got to be the accent or something. I get so much danger from you. Like I just know you.
No, it's it's legit.
She can answer. Yeah, I was gonna say
it's legit.
Please.
We did an episode earlier when the podcast was new, when we had Bitch 3 on here too.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
long time ago. But what were we talking about that day? Because we talked about how each of us, it was some conflict that happened in sports.
Oof.
I think it was some fight that broke out in the middle of a football game, and we talked about which role each of us played.
Oh,
Each of
yeah.
us would play, because we
yeah.
decided that you would be the one to throw the punch first.
Yes.
And I would be the one strategically figuring out
Yes.
how to just eliminate everybody.
Yes.
I'm not gonna throw a punch.
Yes.
You're not gonna see me in the pile of people, but
No.
all of a sudden people would just come up hurt or missing or lose their jobs, and they'd be like, what did Lethal do?
Lethal was
we
strategically on the
decided-
side, telling me who to hit.
She's the fighter. I'm the strategist, and Bitch 3, she was the one who was just filming and documenting everything. She's the one who's I'm not gonna get in it, but I want the tea and I will share the tea, but don't put me in this.
Yeah.
And but yeah, she's the fighter, 100%.
I'm just hearing the accent, and I hope it's not racist, but it just feels like, oh, in my country, we were little girls. We learned how to fence and sword fight. You know what I mean? I get danger from you. You know, my bad.
I've always been an outcast, and I've always been a fighter for anything that I think is wrong within the world.
Real.
Lethal really likes to say that I like me my perfect world. And I will go fucking ballistic for my perfect world.
As you should.
As a matter of fact, I actually just got in a fight the other day at work with my two coworkers because
a physical fight?
No, no. I guess. Hold on, because translation literally in my head. An argument.
Okay.
I'm
gonna say you don't work there no more. You fought them people.
About the dude that just got the first pick that's gonna be in the NBA. It's gonna go to the Spurs. Everybody happy. Yeah. We're a Spurs family, so whatever it was. I wish I would have recorded Flynn's reaction because that shit was wild. So we were talking about it, whatever, the next day, and they were talking so much shit about Popovich that I was legit. I was like, so I have my own room where I work and everybody else is outside. And so I was like, coming out, and then I would go in my room and I would hear some shit and I would come back. I'm like, fuck you. You just a fucking hater, man. You're just a hater. You don't even know what you're saying. And that is almost my daily life at work.
Nice. I'm sure.
I was about to ask where you work, but don't say that on the internet. But
go Spurs. Yes, go Spurs, go. Yes.
All right. Well, while we're on the NBA, let's keep going with that. Well, actually, before we transition, Voch, do you have anything to say about anything that came out today? Mike McCarthy using PCP, any of that? Exactly.
Yeah, hold on, because this is he's on one for this one.
Okay, so listen, so
called purpose. But what I heard was the team is using PCP.
Look, I was off today, right? So I was just gonna gather all the information and just consume it at once and be ready for Monday. I wasn't ready for Mike McCarthy on P. I did have a theory that Mike McCarthy was on cocaine though, but that was just me talking shit. But I'm on the volume now. I just can't say Mike McCarthy's on cocaine. But PCP, please tell me, and you're getting my live reaction to PCP. Go ahead. Now, what is it? You said what is
it? It stands for play call purpose. But the first thing I heard was PCP. We're using PCP. And for the 2.5 seconds it took him to explain that, I was like, oh my God, where is he going with this? But no, it stands for play call purpose, which is it's a concept I personally appreciate. So if you go on Cowboys YouTube, obviously his press conference is on there. And Dak also talked a little bit about the concept of having a purpose behind the plays, which, the former offensive coordinator, who shall not be named,
Neville Longbottom.
You can almost interpret it We called him Neville Longbottom because he looks like Neville Longbottom, and I'll pull the picture up in a second.
The Harry Potter series.
But
he was one of the characters.
it almost, I don't think at all that they intended it as shade, but when you say like, yeah, one of the major changes that we're making this season is that when we call a play, there's gonna be a reason for it. It's kind of like, so what are you? So what exactly are you saying? But
so Mike McCarthy been low key shitting on Kellen for a long time, and I don't disagree with Kellen for just up and leaving, but it'll just be after a press conference, just Mike McCarthy like, yeah, man, you know, probably should have ran the ball there, but hey, man, we gotta do what we gotta do. You know, he'll just throw a little, you know, slick stuff in up. Boy, I wouldn't have made Dak throw the ball right there. Like he's just been slick punching the shit out of Kellen in his ribs for a while, but that was the criticism of Kellen, that it seems like Kellen just had this Madden playbook, and you'll get yards and, you know, touchdowns and stats and numbers, but it wouldn't be the right play at the right time. Kellen just didn't have a good feel for when to call a play. That's basically what it is, like when to call a play. Which well, we're not supposed to say Kellen's name. But that's the difference between him and Schottenheimer. Schottenheimer been coaching for 26 years. He's coached under other coaches. He's been around other coaches in many different systems. So yeah, he has this backlog of, okay, well, when we're in this situation, boy, I've been in this 26 times and all this has worked. Kellen played, sat behind Dak, and was the quarterback's coach and was the OC. So Kellen doesn't have as much, you know, I don't, you know, he just doesn't have as much experience as, you know, Schottenheimer and that. So if I'm Mike McCarthy and that's one of the biggest changes that you want to make, sure. When we're in this situation, this is our list. We don't just need a random play generator at this point, you know, like like everything needs to have its own purpose. So sure, just me live reacting to that. Yeah, that makes sense, but they need a new acronym for that.
I agree. What she told me before the show, I was like, hold up. I'm gonna need you to repeat that slower. Because
I was literally like, yeah, we might talk about PCP, and she looked at me like, excuse me.
Yeah, like what?
But yeah, if you watch the press conference and Dak's interview, they explain it. And I like what they had to say, you know, because basically what they're describing is a system where every player the familiarity with the plays is going to come from the fact that they know the reason behind them. So they won't have to talk about it as much. There won't be as much back and forth. It's going to be like, okay, here's what we're doing. And then they'll kind of know the reason why and what they need to do and what their roles are. But yeah, even when you listen to Dak talk about it, and he kind of mentioned players knowing what other players should be doing and what their role is in relationship to other players on the field. And I'm just sitting there like, wait, so when you said y'all weren't on the same page, like you really meant like you didn't even know
were on PCP at the time? Is that what's happening?
Like y'all were out there just not knowing why you were doing stuff or what other people were supposed to be doing. Y'all just I'm like, that sounds pretty major. So like for all off season, people have been wondering, you know, what does Mike McCarthy mean by we're going to change by approximately 35%?
Stage telepathy.
And that sounds like a pretty big deal. So that sounds like 35% worth of change, knowing why you're doing something.
I mean, come on now, man, bro.
And you know, that's fair. And if I could just shout out my guy Landlord from Alabama, he did this Jalen Tolbert interview. He got a chance to talk to Jalen Tolbert, him and Tyson and HTM Sport. Shouts out to Will still in the chat box. And if you listen to the interview, like Jalen Tolbert just ran down this long list of things that he was working on over the offseason. And I'm like, bro, like I see why you lined up at corner that one time where you know it was in Green Bay. He lined up at like free safety. So he just had no clue what he was doing. I'm like, damn, that's why you had problems your rookie season, right? Because it's enough for a veteran player like CeeDee Lamb, right? CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, they've had some blunders that were the reason why Dak had thrown some picks. So if you're a guy like Jalen Tolbert, you get hit with all that information, and it could just be miscellaneous information. It may not even be useful information. If you're Jalen Tolbert and you get hit with all that, then yeah, you would freeze up mentally also. So hell yeah, you know, dial that shit back and categorize it and organize it and shit.
Yeah, and it's
Oh,
like,
no.
how do you possibly run
Could
option routes when
No.
you don't even know why you're doing it? So it's like, what exactly are your options? How do you know what your options are if you don't know how you're running a play? But
How
anyway,
in tarnation did y'all get this picture of both of them looking up just like that?
no, because like at the time I was a big Harry Potter fan, and honestly, even without finding these pictures, Kellen Moore reminded me of Neville Longbottom, because it's like, if you know Harry Potter, Neville Longbottom was a wizard who had a lot of power, but he misused it. Like he almost killed Harry Potter, like legit. And so it was like, you got all this power, but you just keep doing stupid stuff. Like, why do you keep making mistakes? Like, you have so much potential. And so then when I came across these pictures, I was like, okay, yes, this, because a lot of people didn't understand why we kept calling him Neville. We would say Neville on the show, and there's Neville Gallimore, and so people were like, wait, who are y'all talking about? So we had to post this before our second season to be like, this is why we call him Neville sometimes, because he looks like Neville Longbottom, and honestly, he be fucking up sometimes.
That's perfect.
He be using his power in the wrong way.
In the wrong way.
That is so perfect. I have never. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter guy. They just came out with a game a couple months ago. I played the Harry Potter game a little bit, but that picture with both of them looking up like that, that's perfect. Perfecto. Perfecto.
All right, so now we can get into NBA stuff. If you have an opinion on it, I don't know if you do. But yeah.
So, did you watch the NBA at all? Do you like basketball at all?
So the second round of the playoffs, I watched the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter. That's who I am. And then in the championship, I'll watch like the championship. But in my mind, I just think playoff basketball, first of all, like, why we got to play 7 games? Like, that's exhausting. Like, we're doing this, we got to do it again.
Either that shit was mind blowing to me.
Like, we got to do this shit again and again and again.
There was a time when it was 2 out of 3.
Yes.
It just seems like a lot to me. And I was watching basketball one day and I fell asleep on the first 3 quarters of it. But I woke up at the last 8 minutes and I was like, oh shit, this is all I needed right here. This is all I need. So I do that. But if it's football is taking up so much space in my hard drive. College and NFL. I don't watch XFL, nothing like that. I'm super big into martial arts too. Like you know, UFC, mixed martial art, that's the other half of my brain. But baseball, I'm going to sleep. Hockey, I'm going to sleep. I'm not going to say nothing about soccer because, you know, Spain's in the building. But basketball for 3 quarters, I'm going to sleep. So nah, I'm knowledgeable enough to be in the conversation and not look lost. But I'm no expert, and I'm not going to lie to nobody.
Do you participate in GOAT conversations at all?
Like greatest of all time? Sure, yeah. Or because I was born and raised in Mississippi, so I do talk about actual GOATs sometimes. But greatest of all time, shit, yeah. I've been in that conversation before.
I knew you would like him. But I personally don't. But somebody asked me if I felt like the Lakers getting swept. Well, I don't do GOAT conversations. You know this.
I will do any GOAT
somebody
conversation.
asked me if I felt like the Lakers getting swept affected LeBron's legacy. And because of the fact that, as far as we know, he's still playing, I say no, it doesn't. Because there's still more story to be told.
I agree.
Do y'all disagree?
Oh no, we had this conversation at work too, by the way.
Okay, but you're having the best conversations at work. Damn.
Mm-hmm. So my two the dude's coworkers, actually, it was Darren's last day today. Fuck you, Darren. I still love you, but fuck you, you're a hater. But anyways, so they're both Lakers fans, right? They both LeBron's fans, and my coworker was like, you know, like I was texting with the other dude yesterday, whatever, and we were talking about like whenever something happens that we see on a game that LeBron fucks up or whatever, we're gonna know that that's the end of the Bron era. So when he missed that layup, that by himself, because the ball just fell out of his hand. The next day at work, it was like, this is it. This is Bron's era. To
Michael Jordan too,
bro. But there's the thing. But that's what I was telling them. Like, you really cannot compare the two. Like Bron has played way longer and for a much long time than Jordan was.
Facts.
You know, and he's done other shit. And this is what I was telling Flint. Flint is my boyfriend, in case whatever. We were talking about it, and it's like there's GOATs in almost every generation, right? Like Jordan was the GOAT of his generation. I would say, like, you know, Bron is the generation, the GOAT of this generation. And you know, who knows who the next GOAT will be? But there's but to me, what really makes a GOAT is a person that changes the game, how the game is played, how you use the strategy differently, because now this dude is coming in and doing things that nobody has seen before. And now you gotta guard against all this bullshit that, you know, you've never seen before. Those are the GOATs to me. So I do agree that both are GOATs, but I mean, if you're a fan more one or the other, good for you. I mean,
you know, that's just the burden of like being really, really good at something, is that you have to be nitpicked on that level, you know, to where like one layup is going to affect how people look at you. And in real life, that's nonsense for real. But this, and luckily, because look, I have nothing on the basketball take, but look, watch this, right? Because I could just make this like whatever. You know, that's like if you judge Prince on his last 3 albums. You know what I mean? Like Prince is the GOAT because of Dirty Mind, 1999, Prince and Purple Rain. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't tell me what he did in 03. Don't tell me about Mike Tyson getting knocked out in 2000, you know, not 7 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like judge me when I'm at my greatest. So take my greatest and then measure my greatest versus someone else's greatest, right? Because at the end of the day, if you in the GOAT conversation in general, you one of the 3 or 4 best motherfuckers of all time. You know what I mean? So for people, because Twitter is not a real place. So for
reminder.
People, yeah. So for people to look at a person like that and go, so look, just like football, right? Because I ain't gonna know about it. Just like football, right? We can say what we want about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is one of the best quarterbacks on the planet, right? Think about how many motherfuckers throw footballs for. Just throw the football, right? Just everybody that plays the position quarterback. Baker Mayfield is a top at least 34 of them, right? But not we like me, you, and you, but we like them. Behind the scenes, we get to look at Baker Mayfield and say he's trash. No. Baker Mayfield is incredible, but compared to his peers, you know what I mean? Like, that's where the thing gets kind of strange or whatever, right? So even LeBron James at 38 years old compared to his peers, it's fucking 38. Look what he's doing at 38. I don't know what Jordan was. Wizards Jordan was like, what, 36 or something, 35? Something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but he was younger, though. He was way younger than Bron, though.
Look at Lakers Bron versus Wizards Jordan, right? We don't have that conversation. We look at like Heat LeBron versus Heat and Cavs LeBron versus Bulls Jordan. That's what we make the conversation. So no, I don't want to hear about some layup that he missed getting swept by the most ridiculous 7-foot motherfucker in his cast of characters. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear you say nothing about LeBron's, like, his legacy is his legacy. That doesn't change with just this one situation. You know what I mean? So,
on that we can agree.
Yeah.
I did good.
Yes.
Come on,
yeah, I think that's just so fucked up. Like, people are so quick to like one mistake, and then like your whole thing is out the window. All your career is out the window because you had that one mistake. And it's like, bro, but I did this for so many years, and that's cool. But no, y'all, I'm a Wizards fan, and Michael Jordan was close to 40 when he was in the Wizards. So Lethal over here, check facking.
Wow. Okay, we look, John. We don't. Shout out to John G from DMV for that. John, we don't care how old Jordan was. He was with the. It's Voch Lombardi speaking basketball. Get out of here, man. Come on, John.
On September 25th, the Wizards signed Michael Jordan. At 38 years old, Jordan would be the team's points per game leader during the season. He also led the team in assists per game. However,
did he go to the Eastern Conference Championship?
He had taken some time off.
I was gonna say he 2 years.
So, actually, I like that you kind of brought up football for a second. So this is something that we do. We both have ADHD, so we'll like go back and forth with topics.
Yes. Hardcore.
I don't know if you watched.
Is the H in ADHD for hardcore? Just kidding.
It should be.
It should be.
I don't know if you watched Still's show today, but there was a caller who called in and said that if I can't say this without laughing. Oh my God. They said that if the Cowboys don't get to the Super Bowl, that we should trade Micah Parsons for a first round pick.
Just one.
Go
so we can hold on, I'm not done. So we can draft Caleb Williams and get rid of Dak Prescott.
Whoa.
You just got worse. You just got worse.
Oh, you should have heard what he said about Trayvon Diggs.
Oh, you're just a hater too. You just a hater.
What it made me think about was how fans of the sport, because don't get me wrong, the sport is entertaining. I love watching it, but it made me think about how fans of the sport romanticize players because of their relative position. And don't get me wrong, I love Caleb Williams, right? You know I love Caleb Williams. He has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, we've done Dear Caleb.
Wait. Do y'all like any like funny looking quarterbacks, or just anybody like just weird faced? Do y'all like I don't know, just what do you like about Caleb Williams? Like it just seems like all your favorite guys just got something in common.
Caleb Williams because he's hot.
No, I honestly I cannot even picture his face right now, but I know his story, and that's why I really like him.
I also like him because of his story and because of his gameplay. Like Caleb Williams is a great athlete. Yeah. He's also a committed athlete, especially when I heard the story of how he was a young kid, relatively undersized, was kind of passed over for playing time because of his size and his stature. And he went to his dad as a young kid and said, I want to play football. I want to get better at football. And as an adolescent, his father helped him come up with a game plan, a workout plan, a nutrition plan to get better at football. He started writing down his goals, journaling his workouts, journaling his nutrition. So since the age of 11, had the goal of being one of the best. And him winning the Heisman this past year was actually one of the goals he had written down, you know? I respect the hell out of that. Yeah. So like, make no mistake, I appreciate Caleb Williams as an athlete and as a person. But is he also a very good looking young man? Yes.
Listen, okay, let me give you a good example.
Okay.
Lionel Messi.
Who?
Messi, soccer player, one of the GOAT, the soccer
I don't
Argentinian dude. Okay, never mind. But never mind. He's a GOAT because he changed the game, right? Like all strikers in soccer used to be like big dudes, you know, not necessarily fast, just get the ball, shoot it, score a goal, right? He is a pretty short dude that came in and fucking revolutionized the soccer world and is the best soccer player in the world. I don't care what anybody says. Don't come at me. You can come at me. I don't care. That's just how it is. It's a fact. But I lost my thought. ADHD. What were we talking about?
We were talking about why I like
because he's not hot. He's not hot at all.
Oh, because he's funny looking.
I can still talk about him and admire him as an athlete, and he's not hot at all.
Okay.
I don't
think they're definitely athletes that like I'm not attracted to women at all, but I there are a lot of women athletes who I absolutely love. So I'll just put that out there. But anyway,
Misha just won the World Cup, and yes, exactly. He just won the World Cup, dog. Exactly.
So real fast before when is soccer season? When does it stop? I feel like it never stops. When's the soccer Super Bowl? When's the soccer preseason? I feel like as soon as they done playing the shit, they come right back to it.
So there's a lot of things within soccer, and each country has its own league.
Oh shit!
Usually runs around the same time, like February to November, kind of. And then you have like the Euro champs, and you know, there's a lot that you can. I would recommend to watch just if you don't really like soccer or you're not really into it. The World Cup is only every 4 years, and that's an easy one to watch, and you can just root for whoever.
And I'm sure we'll hear about the next World Cup because it's gonna wreck the U.S. infrastructure.
Bro.
But that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Soccer's. I mean, I was at the Wild Wings one time while the World Cup was going on, and I was like, man, like why the clock going this way? You know what I mean? Like, like what's going on here? Like, you know, and apparently, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you win when the game is 1-1? Or can you, or is it just right? Does somebody wins when the score's time?
It depends. It really depends. Usually, when a tie, you get the same amount of points for each game, for each team. A win is a win, a loss is a loss.
Sure.
Now, if you're really, if it's a championship game or like, you know, like the end of the World Cup, you do Super Bowl. You do penalty. Yes, you do penalty kicks. If the time ends on a tie, you do penalty kicks. Why? Because there's only, mind you, there's 11 players on the field, and you can only do, I think, 3 or 4 switch players during the whole 90 minutes. So you have all these 11 people running, sprinting for 90 minutes, plus the extra time that they add after the first half and the second half. So I got really fucking mad after the World Cup. They just go to penalty kicks. Bitch, I wish you would run for 90 minutes and then you tell me you want to run for another 45. I wish you would, because you can't.
Wow.
Anyways, not the point, but
shouts out to soccer, man. I mean, I just don't think I could find the hardware to get into it, but at least it's better than baseball. Like baseball is
a lot faster. It's a lot faster.
Baseball is so terrible. The highlights are like baseball highlights are trash. You know what I mean? So that's how bad baseball is. But at least soccer, you get to, you know, do little fancy little kicks for your goal, and you know the commentators really like, you know, get up on the shit. So, you know, shouts out to soccer.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you really like get sometime if you really want to get into soccer, like if you like the strategy of like any game, any sport, like soccer is really, really fun to watch once you know what's going on. Like, it's not just like kick the ball. It's not, you know, like I didn't know basketball. I didn't know football. Honestly, I was like, why are these a pile of people every 3 minutes? What's going on? Like, I had no idea about football. Basketball, okay, you just shoot the ball into the basket. But then it's like you'd start realizing like, oh, this player's doing the screen, so this player can go and do the, you know, once you start knowing that stuff, it's a lot more fun to watch. It is.
One day. Go ahead. My bad.
I actually remember what we were talking about. This is exciting.
Nice.
Normally I don't.
Good for you, because I would have forgotten.
But yeah, I was talking about how fans kind of romanticize athletes and the performance of athletes. And so when it comes to Caleb Williams, I personally feel like, Voch, do you watch a lot of college football?
I watch college football all year because I'm watching it in passing, and then when draft season happens, I'm watching the shit like all over again. So yeah, I watch all the college football. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a good topic because I'm curious about your thoughts on this. But when I watch Caleb Williams, I feel like in the system he's in, he does some phenomenal things, right? But based on how I see him approach the game, assuming his gameplay stays the same, I think him coming into the NFL, he's not going to have the impact that some people think he'll have. I think he's going to have to take some time to adjust, because there are so many plays where I feel like I'm watching him and it's like one read, pocket is collapsing, I'm going to take the ball and run with it, or just do something unpredictable, right? Which I feel like a lot of NFL coaches, that's going to piss them off, you know? 100%. And so it's like, I feel like a lot of people are expecting him to come into the NFL and be just as impactful as he's been in college, but he's actually going to need a little bit of time. Once again, assuming his game stays the same or his trajectory stays the same, I feel like he's going to need a little bit of time to develop and actually learn a different way to approach the game in order to actually be effective at this level. And it's just like, I guess the reason why it frustrates me is because I do love Caleb Williams. And what I don't want is for people to be like, oh, he's going to come in, he's going to be running quarterback, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, he's going to be great. And then he comes in and he struggles his first season or maybe his first 2 seasons. And then people are like, oh, he's trash, he's a bust, he's garbage. That's essentially what happened with Jalen Hurts, right? He came in and people were like, oh, what the F is this? Like, there were even people who were like, why did we even draft him? And then it was his 3rd season before you started to see like, okay, he needed a little bit of time. He needed some coaching. He needed some development. He needed some direction. And for me, I see Caleb Williams kind of having that same trajectory as far as like time it takes him to be really impactful because of what he's dealing with. Now that could all change next season. Maybe they add a little bit of structure. Maybe they get some better players around him to where he doesn't have to pick up the ball and just do something heroic with it. But the way he's playing now, his trajectory now, that's what I foresee. I don't see the way he plays translating to the NFL in a way that makes him just come in and just make this huge splash and turn like a regular team into like a winning team.
Lincoln Riley. And as you said, Jalen Hurts, that wasn't no coincidence. It's just Lincoln Riley, So
Baker's.
When I was watching Jordan Addison from USC, when I was watching him, I was watching his USC film or whatnot, and I was like, man, it doesn't seem like they have a really good direction here. It does. Well, there you go, Alex. It doesn't. Alex is an Eagles fan, by the way, so y'all can go ahead and block him. It doesn't feel like they had a great plan offensively this year. It felt like they just had a bunch of talent that they was just trying to figure out how to make work. And to be fair to Lincoln Riley, it just seems like an offense that hadn't really been in the oven that long, really cooked together for a while. But I saw some of the same things in Caleb, and I was looking at. I was like, man, I don't know what y'all like about him. I was just watching Caleb. I was like, boy, I don't know what y'all see. Now I'm going to give him a full evaluation next year when he goes into the draft and all that. But just from what I was seeing in passing, once you figure out the first little bit, there's not a lot of nuance to fight yourself out of that hole. And they dig themselves in a lot of holes. Was it the Pac-12 championship game or something like that? It was like Utah or something like that. They dug themselves in holes, and they didn't have a clear direction to get themselves out, because once you're figured out, you're pretty much figured out. And Caleb had to fight out of that. And shouts out to him for almost fighting out of that, and really, almost. But coaching in college is so important. Coaching in college is so important that these kids aren't ready for the pros when they get to the pros. Because when you're coaching in college, you get fired for different reasons than coaching the pro. Like if you're in the pros and you win 3 games, they'll give you like 2 more seasons to get your life together sometimes, right? But you can win 8 games, but if you can't beat Nick Saban, you get fired, or if you can't beat Georgia, you get fired, right? College football is so different. So they're going, all right, we might get fired in 2 years. We need to just put together some simple shit to make it work so we can win games right now. It may not be technically refined. It may not be nuanced and put together well, but it will work, right? The problem is when you get to the National Football League and everything is technically refined, everything is nuanced, and everything's put together really well, you're going, okay, well, in college, the hashes are different. We do this and they don't really do. All right, cool. We could just manipulate this. So that's why you see these college quarterbacks throw for 500 yards a game, right? But they get to the league and they're not really good, right? You're like, man, how does dude put up all these yards in college? Well, because their system, this air raid system, kind of, I'm not saying that this is what USC does, but the system lends them to do shortcuts.
Yes.
You can't shortcut Dan Quinn. Right, because he'll see the little goofy shit you're doing, and he'll go, "Nah, Caleb, we're not finna, no, we're not doing this." So, but he has the physical ability to pull all this off, but he has to develop all this up here, and we'll see that next year.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this in response to Alex, who has a lot to say. One, Alex
isn't real. He's not real. Don't read the comments. Alex is not a real person.
Alex, thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate the viewership and the engagement. We appreciate you offering your opinion. Alex made the comment that I just shared a second ago. I can't find it because he's put up that many comments, but he said something along the lines of Lincoln Riley just had a quarterback go to the Super Bowl. And to that I say, yes, Lincoln Riley has the ability to recognize raw talent. Absolutely. Especially on
I have a retort to that, actually.
There's some things to be said about his defense. I'm gonna give you a second, Voch. Hold on.
Go ahead, my bad.
There's some things to be said about Lincoln Riley defenses, and I don't know if Voch has something to say about that, but there's a difference between recognizing someone who has a high level of athleticism along with a great work ethic and an intrinsic drive and knowing that they'll get the job done. There's a difference between finding that person and putting them in charge of your offense versus actually teaching them how to be a good quarterback and how to read defenses and how to run an offense efficiently. Because like, let's be real, is what Caleb doing, what he's doing, is it efficient? No, that's why he was limping around at the end of the last game of his last season, right? Because he's doing things that aren't efficient, that are putting wear and tear on his body that really don't need to be placed on it right now. And he's willing to go through that for his team. And once again, that's one of the things that Lincoln Riley spotted in him that he is able to use, right? So shout out to Lincoln Riley for finding people with those raw materials and putting them in a place to get the spotlight and to get the shine on them so that they can go on to accomplish great things. But I feel like if Lincoln Riley were great at developing quarterbacks, it would not have taken Jalen Hurts 3 seasons, a whole nother quarterback camp, a whole nother play system being put in place just for him to actually show what he can do. Luckily for Lincoln Riley and everybody else, Jalen Hurts is actually smart. Luckily, he has a work ethic. Luckily, he was willing to put in work, because there are some people who come into the league who are not willing to do those things. And whatever they come in with between their ears, that's all you get. And that's it. Luckily, Jalen Hurts was willing. Luckily, he's the son of a coach and was willing to develop himself, right? and so he can make Lincoln Riley look good, because now Lincoln Riley can be like, look what I put out there and look what he did, right? But let's be real. How much of Jalen Hurts' success is Lincoln Riley actually responsible for? Voch, what do you think? How much of Jalen Hurts' success is Lincoln Riley actually responsible for?
I think what you said. I don't want to say nothing else. I don't want to say nothing else. Kyler Murray and all them boys, huh? Just all them boys, Super Bowl quarterbacks, huh, Alex? Nah, I ain't got nothing to add to that. You got that. You made every single. And you know what? Let me just say this. I'm so glad that you made the point, because just in the back of my mind, I'm so used to, all right, let me make sure that point gets made. You made all my point. Here. You made every single point for. Let me just hit you with a little bit of an applause here. Get Alex ass up out of here. Get Alex ass up out of here.
Thank you. No, like I coach our roller derby team, and so like I do pay a lot of attention to coaches. I do pay a lot of attention to team leadership. Like honestly, like I like watching film. It's a new thing for me. It's fun. But when news comes out that involves the CBA, oh my God, I get excited. Like the rule changes that came out this week. Yes, I was so excited. Like the blog that I write for, I literally wrote in our chat, I said, anything that comes out of the spring league meetings, I'm writing about it. Don't touch it. I'm doing it. It's mine. I love that shit so much.
I just want to add that sometimes when kids come out of college into the NFL, mostly the NFL, because that's what I know most right now, it's not the same game. So you cannot judge the same athlete that played great in college come in. Like you cannot have you. Okay, let me rephrase. You should not hold that expectation on a kid that played so well in college that you expect him to do or them to do so well in the NFL. It's a very different game.
100%.
It's a very different. The coaching is very different. The team culture is gonna be very different, and the way that you play, you're probably gonna have to change the way that you play, just because you need to either up it or do whatever it is to fit your skill into where you're coming into.
You want to know who woke me up to that?
What?
There's a little bit of a story about my sports fandom. It was Reggie Bush.
Oh, nice.
Reggie Bush was probably one of the first college players I was ever a fan of, and I loved him. But it was also my first time seeing a truly spectacular offensive line. And at the time, like I wasn't on social media like for real like that. But I do remember watching games and just seeing like not like one person making a block for him, but watching his O-line like literally just part the Red Sea for him.
Yeah.
And he would just take it, you know? And I remember because, like I said, grew up a Saints fan, and he didn't perform quite as well. You know, people were expecting like the same stats, the same numbers. And I remember people being like, what happened? And I was just like, well, he needs that same O-line.
Right.
And of course, I'm young on top of being female. So people were just kind of like side-eyeing me like, bitch.
Would you even know, bitch?
Exactly.
Like, what are you
But
even talking about?
I'm just like, no, I don't know a lot about football. I couldn't name a play. at the time, half the positions I still didn't know. But one thing I did know was I didn't see that same O-line parting the receiver. And that to me was when I first woke up to the fact that, like, oh, college is different than the pros.
Very.
Game situations matter. The other people on the field with you matter. The scheme matters. Coaching matters. All this stuff matters. One player cannot make that big of a difference.
And you also go to like somewhat the oldest, more what's the word I'm looking for? Veteran player on the team to be the rookie. That is a big change. Like you go from knowing everybody and doing everything and like knowing how everything works to be the newest person on the team. And that's just gotta be a little fucked up too. Yeah. Honestly. That has to affect you in some sort of way. I don't think it's as hard.
Alex says he doesn't think it's hard to have early success at QB nowadays.
Well, coaching is not the same. And also, hold on.
Okay, I'm gonna let you have it.
You have YouTube these days, dog. You have all kinds of athletes putting all kinds of videos and all kinds of like helping you how to get better. That if we were to do it when we were that age, we didn't have that. So yeah, I agree that it's probably easier in a way.
In response to that, I'm gonna say simply, being a QB in the NFL period is hard.
Agree.
If you do see somebody come out and have success in their early years, especially as a quarterback, that is difficult because as a quarterback, you're not just a skilled player. You don't have to just know how to throw the ball. A lot of times, the starting quarterback is expected to be a team leader, which means you have to come in as a rookie and earn the respect of your teammates. You have to be on top of your shit 100%. So you're entering a new situation with an amount of money that you may have never dreamed of before.
Right.
Usually in a new place, usually away from all the people you're used to loving and caring about you, having to establish a new routine. And on top of all that, you're expected to perform. And on top of all that, you're expected to be above reproach in your personal life and in your professional life. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Being a quarterback, period, is hard. Much less being a 21-year-old male in America coming into this situation, even without performing well. That just, I can only imagine being a 21-year-old dude and someone's just like, here's millions of dollars. Now we want you to focus on your job and be better than everybody else at it. It's like, you want me to do what?
Yeah. It's like,
have you seen my DMs?
I know. It's like people getting mad at Morant. Like, bro, I wish you were truthful about what you would have done at his age with the money that he makes.
While we're talking about John Morant.
Sorry, ADHD.
No. That was actually good shout out. # mental health awareness month. Yes. I hope he's okay. Yes. Did y'all hear about the situation with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Morant. No. Okay.
Okay. So over the weekend, so y'all know he's gotten in trouble again recently, for possessing a weapon on Instagram Live.
Yeah, he did another video. He flashed.
And over the weekend, in his Instagram story, he posted a series of stories, and it was like, "Mom, I love you. Dad, I love you." Picture of his baby girl was like, "I love you," and it all ended with "bye." And a lot of people took that to mean something very terrible. Now, there was a wellness check done at his home. As far as I know, he's okay. But it does seem like he may or may not be going through something. I don't know. The person who did the wellness check, he told the officer that, he just meant he was leaving social media for a while. To me, it seems odd to tell your mother and father and your daughter that you love them before saying bye, and then just be like, "Oh no, I'm just leaving on it." Like, your baby girl is not on Instagram, so like, why is she getting a shout out? So I am concerned for him. Speaking of young men coming into professional sports, making a lot of money and having a lot of responsibility placed on their shoulders, I think one thing a lot of people forget about Jalen Hurts is the fact that he wasn't one of these kids who did like AU basketball and, had a ball in his hands from the time he was 6. I mean, maybe he did, but his trajectory was I don't want to say it's untraditional. A lot of players you see in the NBA, they were in some sort of competitive league long before college, before high school, since the time they were kids. That was not the case for John Morant. As far as the way his story was told, he wasn't even expecting to go to the NBA. He wasn't expecting to make a big splash. It was him and his dad playing hoops. And then one day he was discovered, and then he ended up being like this big splash in the NBA. that can take a like
it's just so good.
I want people to really realize how much your personal identity means to you, and that when it changes, even if it changes in what we interpret as being a quote unquote good way, like, oh, you're making all this money, you have all this attention, you have these endorsements, you're considered a star. When it changes very quickly, especially for someone so early in their development, that can take a mental toll, especially in a case like John Morant, where people are like, well, he was expected to be the leader of Team USA, and he had this, Powerade endorsement that nobody had gotten in years, and he had this Nike deal, and yada yada yada. Why would he throw that away? And it's like, we don't know how much that actually aligned with his identity.
Yeah.
Where we saw opportunity and advancement, he might have seen responsibility and a lot of expectations that he wasn't confident he could pressure exactly, and he could live up to. And so, like, I obviously don't know him personally, but I just want to send like all the love and positive vibes and well wishes to John Morant and whatever he may or may not be dealing with, especially in light of the fact that a really important member of the Ravens flock did pass away recently, took his own life. I talked a lot about, the strength of the Cowboys content creator communities. There are other content creators out there, and one member of the Ravens content creator community took his own life in a similar fashion. And I think that's what made a lot of people take the the John Morant situation so seriously. The particular content creator who went by Chucky or Hot Boy Chucky on Instagram posted a series of stories where he shouted out people that he loved and cared about. And it ended with a video of him talking about guilt that he felt over a friend passing away and how lonely he felt after another friend passing away. And it turned out later that evening that he took his own life. And so I don't want us to take the things that people post lightly. I also don't want us to get in the habit of assuming that because people have attention and money and status, that they must be okay, and that because they post pictures of themselves in nice outfits and nice cars, like this potential content creator. One of the last posts he made was a picture of himself in front of a neon sign saying life is good. Yeah. And a few days later, he decided it wasn't so good. And so while there are people out there making fun of John Morant and making jokes, I really just want us to like take a step back and think about times where we've had to reconcile the identity that's been placed upon us with the identity that we felt inside of us, and what that really did to us, and just like really think before we post, know, like, I don't know. Sorry, like I said, ADHD. That took a really serious turn, really fast.
That got dark.
I'm so sorry.
I'm just kidding. No, but I agree with all of that, because I feel like a lot of these young athletes, regardless of the sport that they play, that is the expectation. Just because you did so well before you come into, you're gonna be front page in the newspaper, if that is even a thing anymore, or you're gonna be, the face of the NBA that they were saying about Ja Morant and like all that stuff. Like, that's a lot of fucking pressure for a early 20s person, more in this country than anywhere else. Like, it's just so visceral sometimes. Like, it's just weird. It's just weird and wild, and like people don't really take into consideration that we said this in the podcast a lot. Like, these are still human beings. This is still people, regardless of the money that they make and where they live and where they come from. These are still people, and they have feelings and emotions and lives and partners and kids and parents and siblings, and you just like don't you. Sometimes I feel like all these things like forget that these people also have lives and they're people. Like,
that's why you don't hear us shit on a lot of people. Like, we might make fun of something that happens in a game, like a particular play or something that happened, but you won't hear us like really just call a person trash, or just talk shit about a person, or bring aspects of their personal life into the conversation. We'll fangirl all day. That's literally one of my favorite things to do. I'm in the process of designing a shirt that says "Fangirling is a lifestyle," because it is.
We're here as proof.
So just like listening, and I was just kind of sitting back in the cut. And I was just listening and processing and like thinking or whatever. And sometimes you need enough time to process change. Like I was thinking about my life or whatever. I was just sitting up here daydreaming about my little life. And like I said earlier, right? I said, boy, it took me about 5 or 6 years to get mature. boy, it took me this long, you know what I mean? But I had time to process. I had time to go through something and then be like, oh, well, that's why that's got to be different. Or for me to go, this has to happen in life. Like, so that's why I need to change this about me and why I can't do XYZ thing. But I had 6 or 7 or so years to do it, So if you're a pro athlete, you really in charge of a lot of people fast. And you in charge of a lot of shit fast. And you gotta learn so much. And people trying to, hey, you gotta pay taxes while you these people calling me to take care. These people that I grew up with, they lights turned off. So I gotta figure that out. And I'm like, damn, dog, you ain't even have I feel like I don't have kids now, but I want kids one day. I want 5, but I'm not gonna get 5. But I'm 31 years old. I feel like I've spent my whole adulthood trying to figure out parenthood. You know what I mean? I don't have kids yet, but I feel like this whole time while I don't have them, I'm figuring it out. Like, man, I need to learn this. So if they ask about this, I have an answer for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just getting ready for it. Like, oh, let me learn how to fix the doorknob in case wifey need me to fix the doorknob or some shit. You know what I mean? I'm just prepping for it, right? So just imagine being 18. And at fucking 19, all the shit just lands on you. You know what I mean? So so it can be a lot. And I'm critical of Ja Morant, but I don't publicly say nothing. I just process it to myself, because I do wonder what's going on. I do wonder why he's in the car with them people. I do wonder if the Gatorade people are going to send people to have a conversation with him. I just process to myself a lot. I don't do a lot of public bash, but I bash shit out of people sometime on my couch. I think that's okay. But I just wonder about a lot of these. I wonder what his dad is doing while this is going on. You know what I mean? I'm just curious about if he needs advice, who does he go to? You know what I mean? Shit like that. So that's what kind of, made me look at the whole Ja Morant situation.
Also, like, the question with that is, like, does he have anybody that he feels that he can reach out to?
And that's the question, because there have been a lot of people on mainstream sports stations who, like, I wish they didn't put this out there, but they've been like, well, I reached out to Ja. And these are like retired veterans who are in the NBA. And I'm just like, first of all, it's nobody's business if you reach out to Ja Morant. Like, you don't need to go on ESPN and say, I reached out to Ja and I told him XYZ. You're not fucking helping.
Yeah, it's not a charity.
And then secondly, exactly what you said. It's like, okay, you reached out to him, but did he receive it? Did you reach him in a way that's actually effective?
Because or does he feel comfortable enough to talk to you about it?
Exactly. Even having ADHD, like, I realize that there are so many other issues that I'm prone to because I have ADHD. So it's like, when I was younger, there were people who reached out to me and they might have thought that I just ignored what they said. But it's like, no, I'm neurodivergent. Yeah. And so the way that you said what you said to me just didn't resonate. And I needed a different approach. I needed a different method in order for it to stick. So it's just like, there are so many things that people might not take seriously, like ADHD, like imposter syndrome, like anxiety, that people are just like, oh, well, you shouldn't feel that way because you have this. It doesn't make sense that you're insecure because you have that. But these things can actually take a toll on a person. And so you reaching out as like the big brother and telling Ja Morant, like, oh, you need to change who you hang with. You need to change your habits. Like, it might not be helping the way that you think it is. And definitely putting it out in the public for millions of people to then discuss.
Definitely
100% not helpful. 100% not helpful.
Yeah.
But before we get out of here, did you have anything else to add?
No. This has been fantastic and thoroughly covered. We ain't just touched this shit for 5 minutes. Like, this has been, we covered the shit out of this. So I love this. No, we good.
Well, come anytime. Yes, that was absolutely a lot of fun. Please. That was a lot of fun.
But somebody earlier did shout out Patrick Nosey Walker for his new podcast. What's it called? It starts with a K, but it's
K. I'll go look.
Yeah, go look. Because I knew the conversation with a K.
I was like confessions, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, but he's gonna be talking about mental health. So Nosey normally does Cowboys content, but his podcast is actually going to be about mental health.
Nice.
And I appreciate that because I do think there's definitely more room for Black men to talk about mental health.
I agree.
In ways that they can connect to. So shout out to Nosi for doing that. And on that note, hashtag ADHD, taking a pivot. Shout out to all the weird spellings of names. We've got Patrick No C Walker at the start. We've got Jesse No I Holly. And now we've got Brandon No O Cooks.
Shout out to all of y'all.
Rewind. Shout out to Nosi for that podcast. In all seriousness, I do think that's much needed, and I have the utmost respect to him for doing that.
I just hope one day mental health within any community or within any conversation is not taboo. Like, I've had depression for years. I've said it multiple times on the show. I'm on medication. And I have anxiety and I have ADHD. Ooh, mental health is like flourishing. But like, I feel like not talking about it, it makes it more taboo than,
yes.
And I know saying these things makes some people uncomfortable because it's a taboo for them. But if I don't talk about it and I don't make people aware that if you say something, I might not necessarily hear it right now, but later it's going to be like, oh shit, that's what they meant,
Yes.
Because hashtag ADHD. Or you might call me or text me and might not answer in hours because I'm buried under the covers in my bed, or whatever the situation may be. But I think it's really important to bring awareness to any of this, and most with young athletes in big sports that they don't really know how to go about life.
I think
it's important to bring awareness to that and bring it to the conversation.
I think it's important to young athletes, especially in the NBA and NFL, for multiple reasons. One, still to this day, there's a stigma around mental health in the Black community. And that's where a lot of the athletes in those two particular leagues come from. Yeah. Two, when we're talking about mental health awareness, I think a lot of people need to be aware that one of the other barriers besides the cultural stigma is the cost barrier. To even get screened to know whether or not you have some of these conditions costs more than what people can put out. And then don't find out you need to be medicated for something.
I don't know.
Now you're talking about a monthly bill, you know? And so
which, by the way, if you do go to Mark Cuban Pharmacy, is a lot cheaper than any other pharmacy. But please. Mark Cuban, hashtag I love you.
But that is another barrier to people getting the help they need. So you've got, the cultural barrier, then you've got the cost barrier, which is big enough. Then you add on top of that, a lot of times when people are considered successful, people don't even approach the subject with them. That was why it took me so long to get diagnosed with ADHD, because I was academically successful. I was president of the math club. I was getting first place at the debate tournaments. I was drum major of the band in high school and in college. I'm doing all this stuff, and people are like, "Ain't nothing wrong with her. She's successful. If there's something that she can't do, it's just because she don't want to. Like she's lazy. She's not interested."
How ADHD works.
It's not at all how it works, and I had no idea. And it took me someone illegally giving me Adderall, and me figuring out like, holy crap, is this how normal people think on a regular basis? For me to even realize there might be an issue there, right? And then you add on top of all that the struggles that a person might have with going from having one identity to another identity. And then they're still actually clinging on to that old identity. You know what I'm saying? So
it's hard to let go sometimes.
There's just like a lot of issues there when it comes to things that can impact the mental health of a young athlete just from them going from college student to pro athlete, and then let's not even talk about the people who go from I was a star at college to I didn't even get drafted, and now I got to go out into the world, and now my identity is changed, but not in a way that elevates me. Now I got to go find a 9-to-5 that I wasn't.
Because there's no transition for that. For neither of those two situations, there's not a transition to that. You it's like they call your name, that's it. You're this whole new person, or they don't call your name and you're just like that. You're this whole new person as well. So there's no really a good or healthy transition. I think this is my personal opinion. Add me, I don't care.
Anyway, I'm really glad that we got a mental health episode before the month ended, even if it was on accident.
It wasn't on purpose at all. It wasn't on. But look though, but that just says a lot about the type of thing that's going on here. Like we talk what, an hour and 45. We talk Cowboys what, 20 minutes. You know what I mean? So hey, that says a lot though. So yeah, I think this whole everything that was said today was important. Everything that we touched on today was important. So
I agree, and I'm sorry if you wanted to talk more Cowboys.
I talk Cowboys 4 days a week on the volume. Sometimes more than that. I need a break from Cowboys.
Come on again on the show when the season starts.
For sure.
Well, I haven't watched every single one of your recent episodes, so I don't know if you touched on the rules changes, but I do want to hear what you have to say about those. But if you decide you want to chat with us about the rules changes, I'm sure we're gonna find time to talk about it, because like honestly, and this is for our listeners, because a lot of our people listen after the fact because we don't have a regular schedule for going live as of this point. We both have real lives. Like we were supposed to go live last Monday, and like literally last minute the show was just canceled. So I'm really jealous of people like you, Voch, who get to do this full time, and it's like your job. But sometimes episodes get canceled, so a lot of our audience, they watch after the fact. But I say all that to say, like, a preview of what's coming when it comes to the rules changes and why they were passed. There is so much tea to be brewed there in terms of what's in the CBA and what's not in the CBA, and what the NFLPA has the power to do versus what they complain about, and the ways in which Amazon is in bed with the NFL. Because a lot of people are looking at Amazon Prime now. It doesn't end there. Like, there are so many programs and different initiatives that Amazon is either sponsoring for the NFL or is participating with in the NFL. And some of them like actually have the potential to do good. Like, there's a lot of player health and safety initiatives that are being like, from the surface, it seems like they're being bankrolled by Amazon, but they also seem like things that, like, if the NFL were to develop certain technology, they could potentially make money off of these initiatives, right? Yes. And so it's like when people are like, well, F Amazon Prime, forget them. Like, why are we doing Thursday night flex game scheduling just because Amazon Prime wants it? Oh, it's not just about that contract, which, by the way, goes into like 2030 and is like $1 billion a year. If that wasn't enough, there's several other initiatives that Amazon is running with the NFL that has to do with player health and safety, and that involves some of the initiatives that the NFLPA says that they wanted. So it's like, if you're the NFLPA and you go to the NFL and say, hey, we don't like this particular thing, it's like, well, hey, this is the company that's sponsoring this other thing that you said you wanted. So you got to make a choice. Yeah. Right. So it runs deep, and I can't wait to talk about it. Also, can't wait to talk about the WNBA. Shout out to Brittany Griner for making her debut. The Mercury have had a rough start, but I'm happy to see Brittany Griner back. I'm not happy to see her getting called for fouls just because she blocked the ball really hard. WNBA, like, we got to stop this. Like, she's got a longer wingspan than Giannis Antetokounmpo and a bigger shoe size than LeBron. When she blocks the ball, it will be felt. Like, tell the officials to get used to it. Period. So yeah, that's my shout out to call outs for the night. Do you have anything?
No. Ooh, sports. All
right. Well, on that note, if you don't have anything else, we'll get out of here. But before we go, for those people who watch this and haven't heard of you, tell them where to find you, and how to tune in.
I'm actually going to take this time to compliment you all. This was fantastic. This was well run. This is well put together. I love the camera angles and shit like that, so I know somebody behind the scenes, because sometimes people miss that.
Shout out to Ever.
Sometimes people will watch the show, but they'll miss what goes on behind it. I'm a content creator, so I just happen to notice, like, boy, y'all got angles in there. You know what I mean? So this thing is well done. And I would love for y'all to like really get into this YouTube thing heavy and like push, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all's platform needs to be bigger than this. Like, I'm just looking through the page, let me help. You know what I mean? I've done this before. I have a show Monday through Thursday with a phone line on, and all y'all got to do is call the show, and I'll prioritize you. I'll pull you to the top. Bitches love sports. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whenever. Like, please, like, let me help grow this thing because this is fantastic.
Oh, I would love your help. I know nothing about YouTube. The only reason this is even on YouTube is because somebody was like, y'all should be on YouTube. And I saw that it was an option on StreamYard, so I added it. But as far as like being good at YouTube stuff and like doing a lot of the stuff that you do, I'm like, I've been reading about it because it's stuff that I plan on implementing over the summer, but like I'm still learning. So if you're willing to accelerate the learning curve for me and help us kind of figure out what to do, absolutely. I will email you my number. We can talk. As a matter of fact, I'll be in Houston because my family's in Lake Charles. I grew up in Lake Charles. So it's like sometimes when I want to hang with my brother, we meet up in Houston. So I'll be around.
Y'all in Dallas or y'all?
We're in Austin.
Okay, awesome, cool. Okay, that's the same, but that way. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Dallas, so I'm gonna be there in June.
I have been on many podcasts, right? And I'll just show love to whoever. And I'm like, hey man, just keep crying. This was really well done. I'm giving y'all flowers. This is really well done. I don't want y'all to be a podcast that y'all do it for so long, then real life happens. Like, all right, my job prioritizes what we're doing here. This ain't growing big enough. Because I was close to that. I was close to that, and I see other podcasts do that. Other YouTube channels do that, to where they put their foot out, but they got to prioritize other shit. Then the podcast goes away. This was too good. This was way too good, and I want more for y'all because I'm good, but I want more for y'all. You know what I'm saying? So please let me help. Please let me help. This was fantastic. I love y'all shirts, by the way. Like, you know, both of y'all, special Power Rangers. You know what I mean? But I don't even want to shout me out. This ain't about me. I just want to give y'all some great content. Y'all will find me eventually. It's my name, whatever. But this is about y'all. This was fantastic. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you. Glad I can be a part of this.
Well, thank you, Voch, and I'll shout him out. If you search Voch Lombardi on YouTube, Twitter, like you'll find him. Yes. And if you are a friend of mine and you just have a hard time, DM me, and I will make sure you get the links. But on that note, we're gonna get out of here. So I'm Bitch 2.
I'm Bitch 1.
And we got